Tonight, I wanted to do a short video on some of the things I think are cool about astral projection and the beyond body, and certain things that I don't think are so cool about it, or that I guess you might be able to call these things drawbacks, but I don't think they really are, to be honest. Anyway, let me get into it. Let me talk to you about some of the cool things. And this was something that, I don't know, I was just thinking about this weekend, and I wanted to do kind of a sort of a simple subject. And I think that people are curious, really, especially those of you who have never experienced astral projection or the beyond body. You're curious perhaps about some of the things that are really cool about them, or the things that I find to be really cool. Now, you may find different things once you're able to achieve astral projection, or if you're able to one day achieve the beyond body, you may find that you feel differently, that there are different things that you enjoy about doing this. But I'm just going to go over the things that I like, and you may agree or disagree. One of the cool things to me, and I'm going to start with astral projection because that's my base. That's where I began when I was 9 years old, that first time, and I was terrified leaving my body. For those of you who have listened to that video, you must know that it scared the bejesus out of me the first time that it happened. And over the years, I became more and more used to it. I evolved, I grew, but that first time was really scary. Anyway, the first thing, the real cool thing to me about astral projection is flying. Now, I've talked about this before. I love to fly. And I will again tell you that flight is not a practical thing, not for me anyways. And one of the things and one of the suggestions that I always have for you when you first leave your body is, if you are going to fly, great, have a great time, but don't think that you're going to be able to find something specific. I mean, you might be able to, I don't know, perhaps you will be able to. I shouldn't say that. For me, and I'm only speaking for myself, it is very difficult. And the one thing that I've pointed out about flight is that, as cool as it is, it's wonderful. Being able to fly without any sort of machine supporting you is an amazing feeling, something that I have difficulty describing. And yeah, even though you are in spirit form, you can feel the wind. I don't know about being able to smell any smells. I never really thought about that, but there's nothing like the exhilaration of being above the clouds or soaring above an ocean. And I've done that. I've done those things, and it is absolutely amazing. It's so exciting to me. But one of the things I've always said with flight, in regards to astral projection, is take a moment to imagine the last time you were in an airplane and you were in, 30,000 feet up in the air or whatever it was, and you looked out the window. For everyone who knew exactly where they were when they looked out the window of an airplane, please raise your hand, because I have no idea if I'm flying for a certain amount of time where I am. That's simply because I can't just look down and know. So in my view, if you are trying to find something specific, a place, a person, a thing, then flight may not be the best way to be able to do that. But is it a pleasurable sensation? Yes, it's a wonderful sensation to fly. It definitely is. The more practical way to find someone is through, or find something, is through the power of thought. And that's the other really cool thing about being able to astral project and when you get out into the astral plane is the ability to travel through the power of thought. Not something that I had realized kind of in the beginning. Over time, I learned that this ability was there, that all you had to do was think something. If you thought it, you could be there. If I thought to myself, I want to be in Paris, I could be in Paris in less than a blink of an eye from Los Angeles. If I thought for a second that I wanted to be in, I don't know, visit another galaxy, another planet, an alien civilization, I could think it. If I wanted to travel through time, I could think it. It is, in my view, the most practical way to find someone or something. It is an amazing way to travel. And in my first video that I put out about a year and a half ago or so, I talked about actually visually experiencing this mode of travel and how amazing it was when I first had the thought. And I still remember that the thought was going to some sort of place that would be very peaceful, heaven-like. I still remember how as soon as I had that thought, the space that I was in formed almost curved and formed almost like a tunnel. So if you can imagine, I was in my apartment floating, and when I had that thought, everything curved, space itself curved, and then I could see in the distance what was, through, I guess, a sort of tunnel. I could see where my destination was in the distance. I could see it. It was small at first. And as I continued to think that same thought, I was moving. It was almost as if I was being drawn toward it. Man, it was, wow, it was astonishing. I really, really loved it. Again, a great way to travel. The freedom that you feel when you're out there and you're astral projecting, it is an amazing, amazing feeling of freedom. You feel as if you thought something, you could be somewhere instantaneously. You could be anywhere in the universe, in existence. There are no limits to where you can go and where you can be. And this, to me, is the coolest thing about astral projection. Now, let me talk about the things that, for me, aren't so cool. And what I'm considering doing is actually breaking this up. I was going to talk also about the beyond body, but I think I'm going to do a separate video on the beyond body because this video is already going longer than I thought it would. I have a tendency to just kind of, when I start to talk, I just start going back over things that happened to me, sharing things that were exciting and pleasurable to me. So I will probably break this up into 2 parts. But so let me briefly talk about the things with astral projection that I find to be a challenge and aren't so cool all the time. One of the things that I struggle with, believe it or not, invisibility. This was something that I thought was going to be the coolest thing, but let me get into this because this is a very strange and odd feeling. I've also felt this feeling when I've done the beyond body, and I'm not sure why that is because I'm normally entering a physical world. This is still a mystery to me. I don't know if when I am in the beyond body, there are times that I am vibrating at such a high frequency that others around me can't see me. Most of the time I'm able to interact with the population and everything is fine, but there are times when people don't see me. But when I astral project, the physical world, people in the physical world are unable to see me, even if I travel to different worlds. Most of the time, at least in my experience, they haven't been able to see me. And I remember distinctly, there was one time, and I've talked about this a few times, where I had this experience where I saw this very unusual house. I had traveled to a place, some other dimension, where I saw a house that was unusually tall. It was weird. It was really tall. A house that's tall. Normally you'll see mansions, big houses, but this house almost was like a building. It was so tall. And on the top, on the roof, there were these Roman numerals. I think it was a V and a 1, or I'm not very good with Roman numerals. I didn't know what it meant at the time. I believe I've looked that up since then, but I saw Roman numerals on the roof of this house, and they were glowing. And there were these two ladies, and they were having a discussion, and I was watching them through a window, and they were dressed almost in like Victorian clothing, and they couldn't see me. I was floating right outside the window. I was just watching them talk. I wasn't sure what they were talking about. I think every once in a while, one of them would look toward the window, but of course they couldn't see me. And it is an unusual feeling. It is a sense when you are invisible that you don't exist to people. It's so funny. When you spend your life walking around and having people acknowledge you, it is difficult when those same people, well, not those same people, but if you just think people in general don't acknowledge you anymore. It's almost like you just, like I say, you don't matter anymore. You don't have substance anymore. Definitely a weird feeling, and definitely not as cool as I thought it would be when I was a little kid. I remember when I first began astral projection, thinking to myself, wow, I'm going to be invisible. I can do all these really cool things. I can go, sit in somebody's house and just kind of hang around, and they're not going to know me, or they're not going to know that I'm there. And how cool is that? Not cool. It's not cool for me to walk around and not have people see me. It's a very strange feeling. It's very odd, and I do not like it. I don't think I like it. I would much rather interact with beings that can see me, I can see them, and I can connect with them. That's what I've learned. The other thing about astral projection that I find to be a challenge and not so cool is being able to contain, or to be able to discipline my mind to the point where I'm not experiencing any fears, any negative thoughts. Even I have issues with this sometimes. And the one thing I've told you is that if you are having issues, fears, negative thoughts, things like that, you shouldn't be going out there and leaving your body. I really do the best I can to purge myself of all these things before I astral project, because you must know that negative thoughts can manifest themselves and become things like, perhaps, and I've seen this before, I've seen things on Reddit where people talk about seeing entities or beings or shadow beings and all these things, and they think that they are malevolent entities. And my thought is that most of the time, this is a result of the fear that you have inside, and it's manifesting itself. Understand something. You have the power in the astral projection, in the astral plane. This is something I've talked about many, many times. You are the one that's in control, and you are the one that has the power. You are the one that many times you can create these things, even though you may not even realize it. So it is important to get these things out of you. Any fears, any negative thoughts. And this is stuff that I had a lot of trouble with, I think, when I was younger. I think as I've grown, I've become better at being able to purge these things and get them out. But sometimes a stray negative thought or something like that may come in, and it can manifest itself. So it is important that you deal with this before you leave. anyway, I've gone way too long. I didn't think I was going to go this long with astral projection, but I have a tendency to go on and on and on. I hope that you're finding this helpful. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I will do part 2 probably in the next day or so where I will talk about the beyond body. Until next time, take care.